Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Tech Time with Tammy. So today's tech, I was wondering what I was going to do it on. I was kind of thinking what I wanted to do, some different suggestions, but I'm going with what I wanted to go with today, and that is going to be on candy. There's a lot of misinformation that is being shared around and a lot of comments with misinformation. Primarily happens to me on TikTok because that's where a lot of the videos that I do on candy pearls and candies are. So that's where a lot of the misinformation is being shared. That said, I see it everywhere, and it's just a complete lack of understanding of what some of these products are. Okay, so candies. You have candy, which is a transparent dye, right? That is just like your traditional concentrates, which a lot of people do not realize come from powders and they are melted in an entire system. And whenever I created the ones when I was at Tamco, those are melted into a resin that helps give it more body, helps just make it a more stable product. After everything that I had done when I created that entire line from scratch, that is what worked the best. So I wanted to duplicate something that was just a very high-end concentrate, not the traditional method where a lot of people actually just take solvents and melt them down into the powders. I wanted something more stable, a little bit thicker. Kind of reminded me more of the old DuPont or Hot Hues concentrates before it turned over to Exalta. That's one that I always thought was actually a really high-end concentrate. So you have concentrates, which are powders that are turned into a very concentrated amount. An 8-ounce container typically will yield you 2 quarts of usable candy if you were to use the traditional concentrates that come in 8-ounce containers. So just using that math there so you understand. So it's basically about 4 ounces of concentrate per quart. That's kind of the ratio in which people go. When you're using concentrates and you're doing over top of silvers or you're going over top of flakes, you want to make sure that you do not over concentrate that, because if you're doing tape work on that, that is one reason that a lot of people get lifting of their candies over those substrates when they tape on them. If you over concentrate more than 20%, which a lot of people do to get coverage because so many of the concentrates don't cover like they used to, so they're over concentrating the mix, it will always cause you to have more delamination issues because it doesn't like that higher concentration of the solvent in that mix of the inner coat. So just realize that that is something that a lot of people have issues with. A trick you can do, if you want to over concentrate your candy for coverage, for faster coverage and less coats, if you locked it down with a coat of inner coat and then you taped it, it won't pull up on you. So that's a little tip there if you guys want to know that. That is one thing that will allow you to be over concentrated without lifting. But if you don't lock it down with an inner coat clear, it will lift on you in many cases. Not fully, like you'll notice that when you're taping and you pull the tape, it's inconsistent in how it peels. And it's like you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out what you did wrong. Like, why did it do it so inconsistently? That's what it does when it's over concentrated. Okay, so then you have the concentrates, right? You could put those into an inner coat clear. You could put them into a 2K clear. And you can actually put them into base coats. If you want to intensify your base coats, a little trick is you can take the concentrates, put them into a base coat, richen the look of that base coat, and not have to do a tri-stage, but kind of duplicate and make the look of one. Then you have 2K candies. 2K candies are concentrate that is automatically added into a 2K clear. That's it. So you try to see a lot of people try to say that they're different. It's not the concentrate. 100% is the concentrate. The only way that candies are made is from powder that turned into concentrates and then used in other applications. So a 2K candy is just concentrate added into a 2K clear. That said, I always recommend that if you're going to do this method, that you use a more lower solids clear for this method, especially when you're going to be doing anywhere between 3 to 5 coats of candy in a 2K method. You do not want to use a high solids product because you do not want to stack that many mils in one session. So a 30 to 35% solids clear works really well in this application, keeping the mils lower, allowing you to stack without having any form of issues. So just a little trick there as well. Then you have candy pearls, and this is where so much misinformation comes when it comes to the candy pearls. What are candy pearls? Everybody tries to tell you that a candy pearl is not a candy, but that it's a base coat, right? With pearl added into it. They couldn't be more wrong. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I invented candy pearls. House of Color has had candy pearls from the beginning. They had the entire series that allowed you to just mix it 2 to 1 and go over top of a silver or go over top of a black, and you would have the candy pearl, and that was the KBC. That was the very popular ones. So whenever I was at Tamco, I decided that I wanted to create a line of candy pearls. At this time, just so everybody's aware, the only other person that had candy pearls that was selling them in the method in which I did them with the colors and the variations that I did was Tamco. So I brought that back in a different way than even how the KBC series was done. I changed the mix ratio. I changed the concentration amount. I changed each individual pearl to go with each color to complement it. It's not being done. It's something I did, and it's something I still do. I feel that candy pearls look the best with complementary pearls. I'm not saying how I do it. I'm not giving all of my secrets away, but it is something that I like to do. I think it makes a more unique color. It makes it a richer color, and it's also why my candy pearls don't look like other people's. They tend to use different pearls than I use, just so that's a little bit known. I use the most expensive pearl that you can buy. When it comes to what I want for the biggest pop available to spray, the most user-friendly, I use very, very high-end, expensive pearls to do that. It makes a huge, vast amount of difference between using your traditional pearls and using the ones that I do. They don't look the same. In fact, when you look at them sprayed, it confuses a lot of people, and they think there's metallic in it. And there's a reason I do that. It just gives a better pop. So why is a candy pearl an option? Why do people think it's a base? Well, they think it's a base because it's meant to be able to go over black. If you took candy and you sprayed it over black, it would be black. There is no reflection in candy. Candy is just a transparent color that goes over top of another like dark base, like a black or something. It's only going to look black. You're not going to get any reflection from that. You have to take it and put it over top of some form of a metal flake, some form of a silver, a chrome, a gold, any form of metallic that you want will force the candy or the candy pearl to reflect. Now, what I did and what I do that's a little bit different in the mix that I did is when I do it, I use a lot of pearl. And the reason I do that is for two reasons. I can shift the color the way I want and give it that effect and that two-tone flop look to it whenever you see it in the sun, and it kind of looks a little bit different. But also it helps with coverage to help the people achieve coverage and stability. I'm not looking for coverage as much as I'm looking for user-friendly stability. I want a person who's never done this to be able to go over black and have full stability over black with coverage, no modeling, no tiger striping, any of those issues. And that is the core issues with candy. It's why so many people are scared of candy, rightfully so, because the truth is a true candy job is a very difficult job to complete. Most people do lack the skills to do it. It is not something that you will ever see me recommend to somebody who's never painted. You do see where I do sell to people who have never painted, and they do it and they knock it out of the park. That said, I do not recommend it to most people because I have seen what can happen when it goes wrong, and it's expensive, and I don't want to see that happen. So the idea of a candy pearl is when you go over black, that allows it to reflect. The color will be darker, meaning if you take apple red and you spray it over top of black, like if you take my red velvet and you spray it over top of black, it's going to be a darker, richer candy red than if you take red velvet and spray it over silver metallic. Or if you sprayed it over top of gold, it's going to have different looks. It's going to be much richer over silver. It's going to be more vibranty / slightly oranger over a gold, and that's just the nature of a gold. And then over black, you're going to get this super dark, rich look. I personally think it's killer over top of black. That's my personal opinion, but I also love it over silver. So any of the candy pearls, the idea of the candy pearls is stability, user-friendly aspects, and the ability to not have to worry about your tiger striping and your modeling, which is so much an issue when it comes to candies. So are they candies? 100%. It utilizes 100% candy dye. There are no toners in anything that I do when it comes to being a candy pearl. 0 toners. The only thing that's added is the pearl. That's it. So whenever these people want to say, oh, it's a base coat, blah, blah, blah. No, they don't know what they're talking about. Number one, they're painters and they never created it. 2, they don't know what they're talking about, especially when it comes to mine, because I made mine the way that I wanted them to be. So a lot of other companies have done them since, and you come up with things that are similar, and the coverage tends to lack that most people complain about, but it's the same concept, right? They're trying to give you a candy that reflects over black or a candy that reflects over silver. So concentrates can be added into Intercoat Clear, they can be added into 2K clear, and they can be added into base coat to help rich a base coat. You can take and just create a 2K candy on your own if you want to with the concentrates. But if you want the most user-friendly option that will spray like a base coat at a 1-to-1 ratio, and anytime you buy from Revolt and you get a candy pearl from us, you can expect coverage in 3 coats. A max, maybe like the Energy Blue, is about 4 coats, 5 coats. But other than that, you can expect coverage on all colors in 3 coats. They're all on the website at revoltautopaints.com. Hope this was a crash course on candy and hope it helps. Bye.